Hello, welcome to Berks Nature and You. My name is Tami Shimp, VP for Development and Community Relations at Berks Nature, and we're continuing our conversation about water. We have launched an Inside Our Watersheds program, and in 2016 we're focused on getting people excited about watersheds and learning more about your watershed and where your water comes from. With me today is Tom Davidock from the Partnership for Delaware Estuary, specifically involved with Schuylkill Action Network, which we refer to as SAN, so welcome.
Thank you.
We partner with a lot of people. None of us could do this work alone. And SAN and Tom are a huge partner when we talk about watershed-wide work related to the Schuylkill River. So if you take just a minute, tell us a little bit more about SAN and the Partnership for Delaware Estuary before we get into some specifics here.
Sure. Well, the Partnership for the Delaware Estuary is one of 28 designated estuary programs throughout the country. We cover a very large area, which includes parts of Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, all the way from Lewis, Delaware, up to Trenton, New Jersey, down to Cape May in New Jersey. We also cover a lot of the large drainage areas and rivers that flow into the Delaware River, with the Schuylkill being one of those. And that's where I primarily work, in the Schuylkill River Watershed.
Right. Great. If you're watching this, there's a very good chance that this affects you, because 90% of us in Berks County drain to the Schuylkill River. 90%. So we're busy making changes all the time and helping people understand how you affect water quality. For this conversation, we'd like to really focus on investments and work that's been done in our community related to water. So Tom, I know for many years we've been working on a lot of different projects related to agricultural best management practices, stormwater, schoolyard programs. I could name more. How many projects and roughly how much money has been invested in this kind of work?
Well, a few years back we looked at that, and we wanted to find the answer to that question, because we see a lot of investments being made every year to help keep our water clean. And what we determined was that over a 10-year period there were more than 500 projects completed and over $400 million invested to protect the Schuylkill River watershed. And if we look at the larger Delaware Estuary, that would even double or triple.
Wow, $400 million.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of work to do.
There is, yeah. We have, I have a good job security because we have a lot to do, for sure.
Right. We are partners on a bunch of different fronts, but currently on the Delaware River Watershed Initiative project together. And that alone is a project where, if you look ahead a few years, there's a commitment to some more dollars being invested into this type of work.
Right.
Some serious money, and a lot of projects will be able to be implemented throughout the entire Delaware River watershed. So can we talk a little bit more about that partnership and a snapshot of some of the projects that you see coming in the future?
And the Delaware River Watershed is a really exciting program that was started up a few years ago. It was started by a foundation based out of Philadelphia called the William Penn Foundation. Over a 3-year period, they were committed and are committed to investing over $35 million into the Delaware River watershed. And the way that they are doing that is by being very strategic in how they invest their money. And I think it's really important to point out the term invest, because they're putting in resources with the idea that they are making an investment and that we can see the return on that sometime in the future. Right. So the foundation looked to be strategic in their investments. So they identified 8 different areas that they call clusters, where they want to really put a lot of resources into to see if we can improve the health of those local rivers and streams. And by doing that, those local rivers and streams would flow into the larger Schuylkill River or the Delaware River, into the Delaware Bay, and as we talked before, into the Atlantic Ocean. And we can start to see some water quality improvements happen because that funding that was being put in there. And they're focusing on a variety of different things. For restoration, making sure that we improve the land that we have. They are looking at agricultural practices, working with farmers to help them do things on their farms that will help protect their farms as a business, but also protect the water that they're surrounding. They're also looking at stormwater, which is a major pollution, especially here in southeast Pennsylvania. We have a lot of people, and a lot of our farms and forests were turned into parking lots and housing developments or shopping centers. So that creates some stormwater problems. But they're also looking at land conservation and trying to prevent areas from getting degraded and from pollution from occurring in the first place. I think it was Ben Franklin that once said an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and I think this type of philosophy goes a long way to prove that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So stormwater is, could be a scary word to some people. What's an example of a stormwater best management practice that, that somebody watching could implement?
And we throw around the term stormwater a lot, but stormwater is basically rainwater that when it hits the ground, it has potential to create some pollution problems. So rainwater in a forest isn't a problem. Rainwater that might land on that parking lot or on that road can be a problem. What typically happens with rainwater, it will hit a surface where the water can't soak into the ground and will run off. And if we have some pollution on that ground, it might be oil from a car, it could be soil from a construction area, it can be soil that's disturbed on a farm. But when that water hits that, it will run off into a local river, a local stream, and can create some pretty bad problems. So we work to try and mimic the natural systems of what stormwater or rainwater would traditionally do, where it soaks into the ground. So some things that we do for that is we might install something called a rain garden. And a rain garden is basically a garden that you would have in your backyard, but it's designed to allow water to soak in. So we have plants in there that are typically native, plants that do really well in this area, and they love water. So they soak up a lot of that water. And then we also work to make sure that the soil in that garden is like a big sponge. So it allows the water to soak into that and then slowly go into the ground rather than run off like you would typically see with a downspout in your house.
Right. Oh, I want one. Is it something that landscape companies are familiar with, or is it a do-it-yourself kind of project?
It could be both. There's a lot of rain gardens that are out there that are just really small that a homeowner decides that they like gardening, they want to do this in their backyard. They can easily do that. There are tons of resources online to explain how to do that, where you can understand what different types of plants to use, what type of soil to use. But you could also, if you are a school or a business and you want to reach out to a landscape architect to come in and help you design that, it's a much more common type of practice that's available today.
Great, great. And volunteer involvement.
Yeah.
Stepping back and looking at our partnership together, we rely on a lot of volunteers and will in the future. So what are some different ways that people, again, you're from Delaware, you travel all over. We're sitting here in Berks County. Anywhere from there and in between, how could volunteers get involved with your work?
There are a lot of ways that a volunteer can do something to help improve the watershed. And it could be as simple as helping to clean up the watershed. We have a program that we run every March through May called the Schuylkill Scrub, which it is a watershed-wide cleanup event. And we encourage people to either register a cleanup and to where they can organize their own cleanup. Maybe it's their local park or along a stream in their community that they want to clean up. Or they can just simply get onto our website at www.schuylkillscrub.org and find the cleanup in their neighborhood where they can go out and volunteer. But all of the organizations that are part of the Schuylkill Action Network, they rely heavily on volunteers. So there might be opportunities to go out and help with a tree planting, for example, or to do some water quality testing where you go out with your little chemistry kit and you test what the quality of that water is, and then we can use that data to track how we're doing to keep the watershed clean or to improve it in the future.
And I'm sure you have a lot of that information at schuylkillwaters.org.
Yep, we try and if you're interested, if you sign up to schuylkillwaters.org as a member, we can send out opportunities for volunteering or even just to learn more about the watershed and things that are happening that you can get involved with in the future.
Great. Yeah, if you like the big picture,
right,
and you want to know how we're affecting Philadelphia and beyond, that's a great resource. And here locally, we have April is a very busy tree planting month, April and October of every year. So if you want to get your hands dirty, you could contact us at Berks Nature and we'll send you in the direction of a tree planting activity and some other volunteer opportunities that we manage as well. And it's all in partnership with our friends at the Partnership for Delaware Estuary. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. This is great.
And thank you for joining us at Berks Nature and You.
If you'd like to learn more about Berks Nature, please join us at www.berksnature.org.